A few years ago, I was drowning in an ocean I will describe as the ocean of information, an ocean of data. I was so drowning in that mass of information. Yet at the same time, I was thirsty for insight. Because week after week, what I will do is I will go around my business, collect as much information as possible, turn them into reports, track metrics. Yet, at the end of the day, something was not clicking. Business remained business as usual. There was no improvement in the overall numbers I was actually making. Then one day, as I was watching one of my young nieces playing around, I saw her playing with a bunch of Pokemon cards. And the way she was organizing the cards inspired me to take a different approach to business. And this approach skyrocketed my business in a tremendous way that I'd like to share with you today. Dimitri, I'm passionate about helping high achievers re-engineer the potential so that they can achieve what I would simply describe as exponential growth. My mission today is to help you find a way to 10x your current result within 12 months. All right? Without further ado, let's get right into it. As I was saying, it's one thing to have access to information. It's one thing to have access to data. It's another to turn that data into gold that's going to just propel your business to the next level. As for me, a few years ago, I was in a place where I kept accumulating information, data upon data, yet there was no increase in terms of my business at the end of the month. Until one day I came across something that changed my approach when it comes to data gathering, when it comes to information gathering, and this turned my business around in a way that within just a few months I was able to increase my revenue by about 37%. And from that point, I never looked back. How did it happen? First of all, a few things I'd like to share with you. In 2011, this gentleman by the name of Peter Sonnegan shared the following thing. He says, information is the all of the 21st century, and analytics or data analytics is the combustion engine of our generation. Quite a statement, right? To simply say that yes, as far as information is concerned, this is the mine, the gold mine that everyone needs to actually have access to in order to improve the lot as far as business is concerned. But at the same time, is something quite peculiar that happened in 2023. The Harvard Business Review produced a document that simply highlighted the fact that when it comes to business, up to 76% of businesses go to great lengths to gather information, data as far as what they do is concerned. However, when it comes to making decisions aligned with what they found as far as information is concerned, only up to 23% of businesses were making decisions based on what they had gathered as information. The rest of the businesses, basically, they were just like me, gathering information and drowning because they did not know how to make sense of all of that. This is now where I'm going to talk about this approach that actually changed as far as my business is actually concerned. The key thing was to get that moment of inspiration. When all of a sudden I realized that yes, in order for this to make sense, I need to change my approach. I need to gamify everything I do when it comes to business. As a matter of fact, let me look at what this young girl is actually doing to actually learn from her. Here's what basically I learned from this interaction. Week after week, she will gather all these Pokemon cards and look at them by type, by power, by importance, and also by how well they were doing. To the point where now she was going to be able to make informed decision as to which one to keep and which one to swap out. And I was like, wow, this is exactly how we should be approaching business. Perfect example as far as how I changed my mind when it comes to business. I said to myself, instead of just gathering information for the sake of gathering information, maybe I should be changing my approach to gathering information. Here's what I came up with. I realized that as far as business is concerned, information we are gathering needs to be looked at as a toolbox, more specifically as a box where you're going to put all your toys. And in order for that box to be useful, you have to be able to organize that box effectively. Then, from observing my needs, I came up with this following analogy. I said, my goodness, as I'm gathering information, I need to get it down in the three following categories: by type, by impact, and by usage. By type, I need to make sure that information I'm gathering, it must be put in a particular box based on what I'm looking for and what I'm looking at, number one. Number two, by impact, when it comes to my goals, how exactly are this that I'm gathering impacting my goal? Number two, by usage, how exactly the strategy I'm actually using are actually working? Based on that, I was now able to start making different decisions as far as how to gather information and how to apply them when it comes to my revenue on a month-to-month basis. And as a matter of fact, I gathered so much from that I was able to now start helping a few businesses around me, to the point where someone a few months ago contacted me and simply said, yes, I'm drowning right now when it comes to information as far as my bakery is concerned. Could you please help me? I said, yes, please. Let's just have a Zoom meeting and see exactly what is happening. And as we were talking, this baker said to me, yes, the biggest challenge I'm having right now is when it comes to inventory management. I said, this is quite hard, but as a matter of fact, that's precisely what most bakers actually struggle with, because yes, you buy so much, and when it comes to producing, sometimes you don't know exactly how much you have to produce based on what you're expecting, because things can actually fluctuate, can go up and down. I said, when it comes to that, very simple. Again, the strategy is to consider your data as a toolbox, as basically a toy box, and we have to gather information based on the three things I actually mentioned: type, impact, and usage. We have to look at information when it comes to based on the type of product you're actually selling. That's number one. Number two, we have to gather information based on the feedback you're getting from your customer. More specifically, we have to try to figure out how the impact of this product you're actually launching is being felt by the customers. That's number two. Number three, you also have to look at the strategy that you're using to see if they are working. You have to make sure that the usage is actually being measured. And from that point, guess what happened? She was able, within just a month, to reduce the waste by about 27. And when it comes to the overall customer satisfaction, it was able to improve by over 35% within just a month, which is a tremendous turnaround. So, as far as implementation is concerned, when it comes to own business, I would simply say three main phases that you have to actually consider. I call them simply SAA. As a matter of fact, if you've been watching this video up until this point, I'm simply going to ask you to do one key thing. Type in the comment section SAA. Here's how I'm going to break it down. SAA. S stands for what? Gathering stages. And the gathering stage is simply called segregation. The second S stands for what? A for aggregation. That's when you're basically going to be analyzing what you've accumulated. And the A, the last A, simply stands for aha. A place where you're going to have your eureka moment as far as your business is concerned. Let me break it down now. As for segregation, you have to find a way to start gathering information. And this is why you have to consider now the stage as you playing with Lego blocks. You have to say to yourself, I have to gather information based on sizes. Number one, I have to gather information based on colors. So basically, I have to gather information that actually can speak to one another. I have to gather information based on type, because I don't want to be gathering information that don't speak to one another. So gather information based on type. That's number one, that's segregation. Number two, you have to now go to aggregation. Aggregation is when you start looking at a big picture, you have to combine all these different sources of information and different files of information and let them now basically create a picture that have to speak back to you. And that's where you have to look at now that toolbox now as a puzzle with many different pieces that have to speak to you. But guess what? They won't speak to you right away. Sometimes they speak to you within a few weeks, sometimes within a few days, sometimes within a few months. But as you're gathering information and you're analyzing information, there's going to come a point where you're going to have a eureka moment where basically that information, that data is not just going to start speaking back to you. And when that happens, that's simply going to be your aha moment. You're going to simply realize that yes, everything I was looking at basically was coming to me for a particular reason. As a matter of fact, when it comes to gathering information, I was not just gathering information for information's sake. I was gathering information because I was looking at three key things. I was looking at RCR. I was looking for revenue metrics. How much money am I making right now? I'm looking at customer impact. So basically, the impact on the customer as far as everything that we're actually doing. And last but not least, I'm also looking for internal processes. How well are we working as far as the business is concerned? And when you look at this particular formula, RCR, OCI, when you apply that when it comes to your information gathering stage or your segregation, you're going to start now gathering information that will now basically start painting a picture of your business and basically the interaction of your business with the ecosystem in which actually supposed to be working. And from that point, slowly but surely, that ecosystem and that information and that big picture will start speaking to you. And as they are speaking to you, that's when you're going to have your aha moment, and you're going to simply go from drowning in information to now getting the insight that's going to now lead you to what we simply call aligned action. Basically, you're going to know exactly what to do because you have insight, and from this insight, you're going to take the right action to turn your business around as far as whatever you do is concerned. All right. So in closing, what I can simply tell you that yes, the most important thing to remember is that as far as business is concerned, yes, information is basically the bread and butter of your business. You have to know exactly where you stand. As Peter Soligan said, yes, it is indeed the all of this generation. Absolutely true. And it is analyzing that data is basically the combustion engine of our generation. Having said that, you can't expect to master everything all at once. Here's what I'm going to offer you as a baby step. Start small wherever you are. So start reviewing information on a weekly basis, not daily basis. And last but not least, start looking now for patterns. So what I'm gathering right now, as far as the RCA is concerned, as far as my revenue, as far as the customer impact, as far as the internal processes, what is it saying to me? When I come to a place aggregation, I'm looking at the puzzle. What is the puzzle saying to me? And as those puzzles are speaking back to me, I'm going to start looking at patterns. And those patterns will be the insight that will now lead to aligned action, to simply turn your business around, to bring you from wherever you are right now all the way to the top where you so belong. All right? Before I go, let me just give you one fun example that can apply to any area of business you may find yourself. February 20th, 1927, in Miami, a young man was actually born to a family of people that were in Miami just as farmers. They were there, as a matter of fact, just to selling tomatoes, and they were supposed to go back to the Bahamas. After the baby was born, they stayed in Miami for a few days and eventually went back to Bahamas. They were living in a village in the Bahamas, so they had no access to any type of thing like such as a mirror. At the same time, their boy simply said to himself, I'm going to be a Hollywood actor. I see myself making it big. I see myself as a big screen superstar as far as the world is concerned. So the rest of the sibling will look at him and say, but we don't have a mirror, so how could you possibly know how good looking you are and how charismatic that you are, that you can actually go on to secure big contract and to be working in front of camera and simply say, yeah, just time will tell. At one point, the family moved from the village all the way to Nassau. And from that point, the parents simply realized that, yes, as far as the future is concerned, there is no future for our son right now in the Bahamas. We have to ship him back to America where he so belongs. Because from that point, hopefully at one point, he's going to find a way to secure a good future he wants for himself. As the young man will move back to America, he goes to the south and ultimately end back in the east part of America, more specifically in New York City. And as he's living in New York City, he's working as a dishwasher around New York City. But one day, as he's walking around, he simply says, the goal, as far as I'm concerned, was to become a Hollywood actor. The goal for me was not to be a dishwasher. So I need to keep my eyes on the prize. So one day, as he's walking around, he started looking at himself and say, yes, I'm good looking enough. I'm charismatic enough. As a matter of fact, I believe it was 6'2" or 6'3". I'm tall enough and charismatic enough and good looking enough to command the attention of people wherever I go. So it's only a matter of time before this can translate into contract. So one day as he's looking for a job, he see in the classified section of newspaper something that will simply say they were looking for actor to audition for the American Negro Theater. So he goes there to audition, and of course, based on his imposing stature, the director simply said, this must be the one that we're looking for. So let's give him a part so he can actually tell us exactly how well he can read. The young man gets to the stage and takes the paper and starts reading. The minute he opened his mouth, the director could tell that, yes, number one, the accent wasn't there. Number two, he could tell that, yes, this young man was not really learned, that reading was not really his forte. So the director simply said, stop! He rushed to the stage and asked him to leave. And as this young man was a bit shocked as to what was happening, simply said, you're wasting my time. He grabbed him by the pants and threw him outside the door. And simply said to him, go back to being a dishwasher. This young man now goes back to his daily routine, now with more information, more data, more specific data. Before, all he knew was it was good looking, it was charismatic, and so on and so forth. He knew that basically he was going to become a movie actor, but he lacked some key insight as to where exactly he needed to improve. But as he goes back to his daily routine, he realized that the number one thing he has to improve on was reading or literacy. Guess what? As soon as the opportunity presented itself, he started learning how to read better, and from that point, he was able to go back to the same place and say, yes, whatever was lacking before, whatever insight you have shared with me as far as my shortcomings are concerned, I've been able to address that. Everything else is actually just working fine. How about now we create a collaboration? I'll be working for you as a janitor, and in return, you're going to teach me how to become an actor. And guess what? Because of this trade-off, this young man got now into the industry, and within a few years, in 1964, he was able to secure the first Best Actor Oscar that was actually given to a person of African descent. His name in the books of history, Sidney Poitier. In every single one of us, there is a Sidney Poitier. Some with many dreams. You know that you have this design to actually making great things happen. But when it comes to the sea of possibilities, you are drowning because you don't know exactly which one to focus on. My friend, I'm simply going to invite you to focus on this simple formula, SAA. Basically, you have to come to a point where you're now going to start segregating information. You simply say, yes, based on where I'm going, I'll be focusing on information pertaining to my field. More specifically, I'll be looking at the RCI. I'll be looking at how I can produce a revenue. I'll be looking at ways to actually create an impact on the people I'm supposed to be working with. And most last but not least, I'll be looking at a way to improve my own internal processes. From that point, you're going to go now to a place where you're going to start getting as much information as possible, aggregating, and ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to come to your moment of revelation, your moment of aha, like Sidney Poitier say, yes, now I know what to read, so how about I get back into the field? But there was no book that simply said, yes, you can go back over there and ask to work as a janitor. But that was simply his moment of revelation that I'm also hoping that you two are going to have as far as your own journey is concerned. All right, much love, everyone. I'm out.